Welcome to the APA formatting of qualitative data video. I'm James Hayashi, the writing advisor for Master's Program students. We'll start by talking about how to integrate a quote into your own writing. This helps avoid a floating quote, the kind that's just dropped into your sentence and feels a little bit disembodied and not well connected or well woven into your own material, such as this example here. Survey data was both positive and negative. The speaker was very knowledgeable, but I wish I had known about the writing seminars on the first day of classes. Mixed comments such as this one constituted 84% of all responses. Now this setup isn't necessarily wrong, but you can see the way it's formatted is student writing period, quoted material period, then back to student writing period, and it gives a kind of a choppy feeling, which isn't the sort of more sophisticated level of graduate writing that we want for your program. So instead, you want to help the quote feel more woven and more integrated into your paper, and the most common way of doing this is to paraphrase the first part of the sentence and directly quote the second, like this. Many respondents qualified their praise with suggestions for improvement. One respondent, for example, noted that although the presenter was knowledgeable, she wished she had known about the writing seminars on the first day of classes. You can see here, instead of having a period directly before the quote, the student's writing flows more seamlessly directly into the respondent's quote, providing a much more fluid kind of transition and not that choppy feeling that the other slide had. So in terms of actually formatting the quote, there's two ways to do this depending on how long your quotation is. If the quote is fewer than 40 words, you'll incorporate it into your own sentence by placing double quotation marks around the quote, and you won't punctuate inside the quotation mark. Instead, it'll go after the parenthetical citation like this. So you'll see here, this is the same example as last time. Here's the student's writing, then the quote starts with double quotation marks, not single, and double at the end as well. And the period, instead of coming here inside the quote or right after, it comes at the very end after the parenthetical citation. In the next video in this series, you'll see exactly how to format those parenthetical citations. But for right now, just remember that the period comes after the parenthetical citation, not inside the quote, and not directly after it before the parenthetical. If your quote is 40 words or longer, you'll use block format to set it apart from the paragraph so the reader can clearly see where the quote begins and ends. You'll start the quote on a whole new line and indent the entire thing on the left margin ½ inch. That's the same as a new paragraph. Your right margin will just stay normal though. Keep the block quote double space. I know this is different from other formatting systems that you might be more familiar with, so just keep that in mind because it's a difference for some of you. Do not use quotation marks around the block quote, but you will need to still have a parenthetical citation. So here in this example, you can see the student's writing in black and then the quoted material in red. In general, however, the feedback provided by survey respondents was quite helpful, as demonstrated by this example. Thank you for the informative articles. I enjoyed reading them, etc. From a mechanical Turk provider on a survey launched June 15th, 2015. You'll see here that the quote starts on a whole new line. The left-hand margin is indented ½ inch, and the right-hand margin is just kept the same as normal. There's no quotation marks at the beginning or at the end. And we'll call this double space even though it's not, because it all had to fit on one slide. You'll note here though that the period in a block quote comes before the parenthetical citation instead of after. So this is an exception to that rule we talked about earlier. So again, the quote starts on a new line. The whole thing is indented on the left margin. It's double spaced. There are no quotation marks. There is a parenthetical citation, but it comes after the final period. Maybe you want to take just part of that quote from this slide here. Maybe you just need the middle part because it's more germane to whatever point you're trying to make in that article. In that case, you can just extract, the part that you need. And as we said before, weave it into your own sentence using double quotation marks, if it's, again, using the system assuming it's 40 words or fewer, and then giving the parenthetical citation, again with the period at the end. So you can, of course, either choose to use the entire quote or just part of it, depending on the needs of your paper. You use sic, S-I-C, italicized and bracketed, immediately after an error in quoted material. That will signal to the reader that you've copied the error exactly from the original text, not that you're introducing a new mistake or typo. Okay, so for example, one respondent noted that she enjoyed the materials. They were interesting and they were helpful too. Sic. So you'll see here it should be TOO, meaning also, instead of TO. And so to indicate this was an error in the respondent's words or typing, not in the student's own writing, we've put sic, italicized, and bracketed. And you'll see it comes immediately after the error, and in this case it's right inside the quotation. Sometimes you'll need to edit a pronoun or verb tense or verb number to make a quote float more smoothly with your own writing. For example, Pinker admits that he wants to debug your mind with learning to make these natural gifts seem strange. So the original quote said, I want to, but that doesn't flow with the use of Pinker in the third person, so we changed it to he wants to. You'll notice, though, that these changes never alter or distort the meaning of the original text. They simply help to smooth the transition from student writing into the quote. I hope this was helpful and informative. Remember that you can pause the video, you can go back and rewatch it at any time in case you missed something or you need just a refresher. I encourage you to watch the second video in this series, and if you still have questions, feel free to email me at jhayashi@rossier.edu. Happy writing!